When a promotion like the WWE relies on part-time stars from 20 years ago, guys like Sting, Brock Lesnar, and Goldberg, obviously there's going to be large stretches of time where they're not around, right? Because they're part-time. So then, what do they fill in all that extra time with? They fill it in with filler crap, like Braun Strowman, right? Let me tell you something you already know. Nobody actually cares about Braun Strowman, right? Do you care about him? No, of course not. Because there's nothing appealing about the guy, right? He's this big, angry, generic monster heel with a big round face, a little nose, and a big beard, you know? He looks like a big, mean, powered-up Super Saiyan Santa Claus. It's almost like a Santa Claus at the mall had to deal with one too many bratty kids, so he goes crazy and powers up. So now he's 7 feet tall with a big brown beard. Now you kids will treat me with respect. And the little kid's like, look, it's Super Saiyan Santa. And he's like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be intimidated. And the little kid's like, but you still have such a pudgy face and a little button nose. And he's like, oh shit! If the shirt actually looked like this, I might actually consider buying it. I can't believe the WWE is spending all this time and money on Braun Strowman. There is no way that a Super Saiyan Santa becomes a true main event player. The guy has a forehead like a drive-in movie theater. If the WWE is trying to manufacture another Bill Goldberg, they're just wasting their time. Alright? Guys like Bill Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, Kevin Nash, Psycho Sid, they all had the look. They all had that cool looking face, the swagger, the charisma, you know, those X factors. Braun Strowman doesn't seem to have any of that. Yet the WWE seems to be trying to make something out of nothing by giving him this Super Cena style push. You know, having him beat up multiple guys, flipping over a truck, smashing the ring, pushing a dumpster over the ramp even though the ramp is only this high. You know, I guess in the short run that qualifies as filler. It does its job as filler, but in the long run, it's just a huge waste of time because this guy is not going to be the next big thing. I've talked for years about the PG era's total disrespect for size differences. Like a little guy like Rey Mysterio kicks Batista, and Batista goes flying backwards like he just got hit by a train. In TNA, AJ Styles punches Scott Steiner, and Scott Steiner goes flying out of the ring like he just got hit by the Incredible Hulk. Big guys overselling the moves of little guys looks completely ridiculous. But now it's commonplace. Now it's the norm. Finn Balor is a skinny-ass little guy with a big-ass head. Yet when he gets in the ring with a big guy like Jinder Mahal, they wrestle as if they were the same size. And Finn Balor actually wins the match with a flying foot stomp with those tiny little feet. Why the hell is Finn Balor's finishing move a flying foot stomp with those tiny little feet? Shouldn't his finishing move be a flying headbutt? With that big-ass head? Now that's what I call a finishing move. But don't you see the contradiction between Finn Balor and Braun Strowman? How come when Finn Balor fights, size doesn't matter, but when Braun Strowman fights, size does matter? Why is it that Braun Strowman can beat up 3 guys at the same time, but on the other hand, Finn Balor can go one-on-one with a heavyweight and beat him with his tiny little feet? It looks like the WWE wants to have it both ways. They want to push Braun Strowman where size does matter, but at the same time they want to push Finn Balor where size doesn't matter. So that brings up the question, what happens when Finn Balor fights Braun Strowman? When Finn Balor kicks Braun Strowman, what happens? Does Braun Strowman go flying backwards like Batista? Or does he stand still and smash Finn Balor? See, it looks like the WWE wants to have it both ways, and it's a big contradiction. So the bottom line is, are we following the basic laws of physics, or are we not following the basic laws of physics? Are we in a ridiculous universe where Rey Mysterio kicks Batista, and Batista goes flying backwards? Or are we in a more sensible, common sense universe where Andre the Giant towers over his opponents and he can't be moved because he's too big? I mean, if we're not going to follow the basic laws of physics, why don't we just go all the way with it? Finn Balor doesn't even need to get in the ring to beat Braun Strowman. All he has to do is walk out on the ramp, go, dun, dun, woo! And the sound waves from that will fly down the aisle, hit Braun Strowman, and Braun Strowman will fly across the ring, and Finn Balor win that way. You see what I mean? If there's no basic rules or structure in wrestling, then it's just anything goes nonsense. Okay, let's talk about Bayley, because I'm still trying to figure out the appeal of this character, because I admit, when she walked out to the ring, people were cheering. I saw all these middle-aged men in their purple shirts, and they were going crazy. I mean, like, what do they want? They want Bayley to hug them? You know, isn't that kind of creepy? And by the way, just like how Finn Balor's finishing move should obviously be the flying headbutt, why isn't Bayley's finishing move the bear hug? Like, isn't that obvious? You know, shouldn't she be, like, grabbing her opponents like this, and then in a bear hug, and then, like, smacking them in the face with her sideways ponytail, like, you know, like annoying them into submission? There's another thing that confuses me about the women's division, and that's you, the wrestling fans. Mickie James fights Sasha Banks, and you stay quiet for Mickie James? What the hell is wrong with you? Like what? You like that little dance move that Sasha Banks does when he comes out? Like, then she gets in the ring and does it again? Like what? That compels you to cheer for over Mickie James? You prefer to go dun, dun, woo over cheer for Mickie James? Man, there seems to be some serious generation gap going on here. But on the bright side, Alexa Bliss is now the #1 contender for the Raw Women's title. Like I said in my last video, Alexa Bliss desperately needs a bodyguard. When she won that 4-way match to become the #1 contender, she should have had a bodyguard next to her, cheating for her to win the match. It felt so missing from the picture. Now, I think I got some messages saying stuff like, oh, well, Alexa Bliss is capable of winning on her own. She doesn't need a bodyguard. Look, it's not about whether she's capable of winning on her own. Shawn Michaels was capable of winning on his own. But it's about the fact that Shawn Michaels was an arrogant, opportunistic, undersized heel, so therefore he's going to have a bodyguard like Diesel or Psycho Sid outside the ring helping him out. Likewise, Alexa Bliss is also an arrogant, opportunistic, undersized heel facing larger opponents, so it makes complete sense that she's going to take any advantage she can get, including having someone outside the ring. It's not about whether Alexa Bliss is capable of winning on her own. It's about the character's motivation and what this particular character would do in this particular situation. Another thing I talked about in my last video is that Alexa Bliss should be given a long New Day style title reign. She should keep the belt forever. The fact that we have 2 women's belts already divides the prestige, so the last thing we need is the Raw Women's title being bounced around like hot potatoes, right? Alexa Bliss should take the belt away from Bear Hug Bayley. She should take the belt from Bear Hug Bayley, and she should keep it for so long that it becomes associated with her. Like, you know how the spinny belt is associated with John Cena? You know how New Day has their own customized tag team title belts? Alexa Bliss should have her own customized women's belt. You know how Alexa Bliss's hair is like half blonde with pink on the bottom? The Raw Women's title should be white with pink highlights across the bottom, and that should become associated with Alexa Bliss, who keeps the title all the way to WrestleMania. It would sell tons of merchandise. But again, look at all the ham and eggers I'm talking about. Big head Finn Balor, Bear Hug Bayley, like Braun Strowman. You know, I do like Sasha Banks, but like I talked about, it's the generation gap. It's the generation gap. Because a lot of today's fanboys, they look at the current product and they love it. When guys like Finn Balor and Bayley come out there like going crazy. But for the rest of us, it can be very demoralizing, man. It can be very depressing. we still try to watch Raw every Monday night. But even though it looks the same, it just doesn't feel right. Was it something we said or something we did, or did time just pass us by? Though we try to be loyal, or we try, but I guess that's why they say every era has its time. Now you have yours, I had mine. In the Attitude Era, we had an 8.0 Raw. You have Super Saiyan Santa Claus. Yeah, you do. I watch these wrestling fanboys here on YouTube. They put up fake thumbnails, hoping to get more views. But I wonder, do they know what it's even all about? 'Cause all the fun and joy of wrestling, they just took it all right out. That's why I say every era has its time. Now you have yours, I had mine. In the Attitude Era, we had the Monday Night War. You have Paige, who's up. You know, I wonder, how did Finn Balor even decide to start wearing that stupid little leather jacket that he wears? Like, what? Like, what, was he at a Macy's at the children's section shopping for clothes for himself, when all of a sudden he sees it, he's like, oh, that's it. That's the leather jacket that's going to make me look cool. And then he puts it on, he's like, oh, yeah. There's no way I look like a total dumbass wearing this. Look at the size of these collars. During my entrance, I think I'm going to touch them repeatedly, like I'm wiping off my boogers. And then when my fingers are clean, I'm going to point my fingers in the air and go, dun dun, woo! Yeah! There's no way I look like a total dumbass doing that. But you want to know the real reason, in my opinion, why Finn Balor wipes his boogers on his collars and points his fingers in the air? It's the same reason that Charlotte does that cartwheel thing during her entrance. It's to drive crazy the video game programmers who have to recreate that shit. Like, can you imagine the video game programmer responsible for recreating Charlotte's entrance? He's probably like, ah, shit. Why can't she walk to the ring normally like everyone else? And the video game programmer responsible for Finn Balor is probably like, shit, I have to animate this little fool with a big head wiping his boogers off and going dun dun woo? Man, I quit.